Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings films are masterpieces of fantasy cinema, but they took many liberties with J.R.R. Tolkien's original story. While some changes were necessary for adaptation, others significantly altered characters, themes, and even major plot points. The movies told some big lies, some small and harmless, others more consequential. One of the biggest misrepresentations was Faramir's character. In the books, Faramir is a noble and wise man who immediately recognizes the danger of the One Ring and refuses to take it, unlike his brother Boromir. He says outright that he would not claim the ring even if it lay by the roadside. Yet in The Two Towers the films portray him as tempted and conflicted, dragging Frodo and Sam to Osgiliath before finally letting them go. This change undermines Faramir's strength and makes him seem weaker than he truly is. Aragorn's character was also altered in ways that changed his essence. The movies depict him as reluctant and haunted by Isildur's legacy, fearing the power of the throne. He hesitates to embrace his destiny until Elrond convinces him. But in the books, Aragorn never wavers. He is confident in his claim to Gondor's throne and has spent decades preparing for it. His reluctance in the films was added for drama, but it weakened his true leadership. The elves' involvement at Helm's Deep was another fabrication. In The Two Towers film, elven warriors led by Haldir arrive to aid the Rohirrim, creating an emotional but entirely invented moment. Tolkien's books never included this. The elves were not present at the battle. This change was likely meant to emphasize the alliance between races, but it distorted the lore, as the elves were already fading from Middle-earth and focused on their own struggles. Another major deviation was the portrayal of the Army of the Dead. In The Return of the King the films show them as an unstoppable force that sweeps through Minas Tirith's battlefields, single-handedly winning the battle. But in the book, they only help Aragorn clear enemy ships at Pelagia. They don't fight at the Pelennor fields. Their overuse in the film diminished the contributions of the actual human armies of Gondor and Rohan. The movies also exaggerated Gimli's role as comic relief. While Tolkien's Gimli was certainly bold and witty, he was never the bumbling, joke-cracking dwarf seen in the films. Many of his lines, like the "nobody tosses a dwarf" moment, were added for humor, making him more of a caricature than the proud, fierce warrior from the books. Perhaps one of the most controversial changes was Frodo sending Sam away in The Return of the King. This never happened in the books. Sam's loyalty never wavered, and Frodo never succumbed to such distrust. The scene was invented to add tension, but it betrayed the core of their friendship, which Tolkien emphasized as unbreakable. Even Gandalf's confrontation with the Witch King was altered. In the film, the Witch King breaks Gandalf's staff, making him appear vulnerable. But in the books, this never occurs. Gandalf stands firm, and the confrontation is interrupted by the arrival of the Rohirrim. The movie's version made Gandalf seem weaker for the sake of drama. The films also omitted key characters like Tom Bombadil and Glorfindel, replacing the latter with Arwen in Frodo's flight to Rivendell. While some cuts were necessary, these absences changed the richness of Tolkien's world. Bombadil, in particular, was a mysterious and powerful figure who represented the ancient, untamed magic of Middle-earth, something the movies completely ignored. The romance between Aragorn and Arwen was also expanded far beyond the books. While their love story exists in Tolkien's work, it is mostly in the background. The films gave Arwen a much larger role, even inventing scenes where she nearly dies due to her choice to stay mortal. This was done to add emotional weight, but it shifted focus from other key elements of the story. The portrayal of Denethor was another major departure. In the books, he is a tragic but intelligent ruler worn down by grief and the weight of leadership. The films turned him into a raving, irrational fool who eats tomatoes while his son dies in battle. This exaggerated his madness and stripped away the complexity of his character. Even small details, like the way the ring works, were changed. The films often show the ring as having a will of its own, physically slipping onto fingers or expanding to escape. In the books, its corruption is more psychological. It tempts and manipulates rather than moving on its own. This subtle difference changes how its power is perceived. The movies also condensed or altered key battles. The siege of Minas Tirith was far more complex in the books, with multiple layers of defense and strategic retreats. The film simplified it for cinematic spectacle, losing some of Tolkien's tactical depth. The Scouring of the Shire, one of the most important chapters in the book, was completely cut from the films. This epilogue, where the hobbits return to find the Shire under Saruman's control, showed their growth and the cost of their journey. Its absence made the ending feel less impactful. Jackson's films also minimized the importance of fate and prophecy. In the books, characters often speak of destiny and divine will, particularly with Aragorn's lineage and Frodo's role as the ring-bearer. The movies focused more on personal struggles, downplaying Tolkien's themes of providence. Even the portrayal of Sauron was different. The books describe him as a shadowy, disembodied force of malice, while the films gave him a literal flaming eye, making him seem less mysterious and more like a physical threat. Some changes were understandable for pacing, like cutting Bombadil or streamlining the battles. Others, however, altered character arcs, diluted themes, or added unnecessary drama. While the films are incredible achievements, they did take creative liberties, some of which were outright lies to Tolkien's original vision. In the end, the movies succeeded in bringing Middle-earth to life, but they are not a perfect reflection of the books. Fans of Tolkien's work will always notice these differences, some of which matter more than others. The biggest lies the films told were not just about changing events, they were about changing the heart of the story in ways that, for better or worse, made it a different experience.